You know, we didn't introduce Margie. Would you give us a little bit of your bio, Margie, your background and who you've worked with?
Well, I qualified to be here because I suffer from Morgellons disease or some kind of parasitic skin disorder, and I changed my lifestyle when I was 26 years old. I stopped using. Not that I was a big drug user or anything, but it was the 70s. And I stopped using everything. I stopped eating sugar. I started eating in a disciplined way every day, and my life changed from that. And I had the wherewithal to be able to go back to school, which I did, and I got a degree in nursing, and then I felt compelled to explore yoga, and I did that, and I did an enormous amount of training in Western Mass, really close to Robin, actually, at the Propala Center, and I took many of their trainings, and then I eventually started working with Herbert Benson at the Mind Body Institute at Harvard, and I was the yoga person for all the clinical programs. And I was also on the clinical, education for Harvard Medical School. So, physicians, PhDs, therapists would come through, and we would educate them and helping people to elicit the relaxation response. So that would be an excellent intervention for panic. Panic can be a physiological underlying illness. You could have a disorder with your heart can cause panic attacks. You can have a neurological issue that causes panic attacks. So it's no clear-cut response to that. I guess I'm diverting here, Richard. But what I'm underscoring is eliciting the relaxation response in the body. It takes practice. It takes continual practice to do that. But you can do that. And what that does is, the stress response is an endocrine reaction to perceived unsafety, perceived fear. And so what that does is it stimulates a whole cascade of hormones that are really very destructive. And when that happens over and over and over again, our body starts to break down and our immune system starts getting suppressed. Conversely, when you learn techniques, and I would be happy to share them sometime here, Richard, that can help people, and I know Richard's done some hypnosis with people, but what I was trained to elicit, the whole purpose of the technique was to elicit relaxation response in the body, and it creates hormones that actually soothe and comfort the body, decrease the heart rate, increase your immune system. And so there were multiple different programs, cancer, AIDS at the time, infertility, medical symptom reduction, cardiac. I was teaching yoga to all of those patients and participating in the clinical trainings for the doctors in the area. So that was my big, I shouldn't say big, that was part of my life. And, that's been over for quite a while. Herbert Benson is retired, and they do have the Henry Benson at Henry's clinic now at Mass General, and some of the same people are there. But anyway, that was a big part of my life, and I continue to use that in my yoga teaching. I have yoga classes, and I always integrate my yoga classes with those techniques so people can have tools in which they can actually modulate their physiology. They can change their own physiology. It's just very simple technique.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, it's like heal thyself. Dr. Herbert Benson is one of the leaders in stress management going way back into the, 70s and 80s of the last century. He's one of the pioneers in managing stress. So you've had the honor of being in the company of superstars, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I learned a lot.
Has anyone else shared, called in, or like to share or text? Otherwise, we'll be closing out this segment of the meeting, and then the last segment will be stress management.
No, nobody texted me or called me, Richard.
Okay. All right. Then we'll close this segment of the meeting. Well, welcome back, everybody. This is Richard Kuhns, with the author of How to Get Your Life Back from Morgellons and Other Skin Organisms. And this is our stress management segment. Robin, who's usually with us, is having technical problems with her internet today. And fortunately, we have Margie, who is very well acquainted with the issues of managing stress. And it just ties in with what we were talking about in the first portion of this program, and that is dealing with panic, because panic is something that we all get attacked with. I mean, it comes out of nowhere, particularly when we have no support, or often very little support from the medical profession, or even if we do have support, we find they can't do anything. Or if we do find out that, okay, antibiotics will work, then we go try to find a doctor and we can't find one because they're all booked up and not taking new patients. So there are so many reasons to have panic, and it's important to have little techniques that you can do, that even if you come to a stop sign or a red light, to kind of bring things back and throw out the panic, throw the panic out the window, and bring yourself back so you can turn on your creativity and get your life back. So, Margie, share with us a technique that you like.
Well, the skill that we are trying, and it seems like a simple, natural way to be, and in non-technical civilizations, people naturally elicit the relaxation response over and over again. So we talk about the relaxation response as an antidote to the stress response. And the stress response is generated by thought. It's generated by the way we judge circumstances. And our thinking really gets us nowhere in those situations. In fact, it usually gets us into more trouble. The only thought that really helps us is to bring our awareness to the body, to get out of the brain, to get out of all the negative thoughts, all the chatter going on, and get yourself into your body. And the focal point usually for most relaxation techniques is the breath. And so if you are, obviously you can't be doing this until you learn. The place to really practice this is in a quiet place. So you don't want to start practicing this when you're in the middle of a panic attack. You want to find a quiet, clean environment. And of course, if you're new to this illness, your number one goal is to get on the diet and to clean at least one area of your house where you can go into that room, close the door, and feel safe. That is essential to get better. Choose your bed. Most people, it's their bedroom. So hopefully you're at the point where your bedroom is clean and you're not being harassed by anything in there. And I know how that feels to be in that situation. But work very hard to get an area in your house where you feel safe and you know you're not going to be harassed. And that is where you should start practicing eliciting the relaxation response in your body. And it doesn't matter what your focal point is. It could be your breath. It could be a prayer saying over and over again. And when your mind wanders, you just bring it back to the prayer. Or you bring it back to your breath. Or it could even be just counting, 1 to 10, and bring it back to the counting. What you're doing is you're bringing your mind away from the thinking, and you're bringing it to a focal point. And as human beings, we love rhythm. We love repetition. It's very calming and soothing to the central nervous system. That's why we love music. We love dancing. You know, primitive people love to do things that have, beats to it, because it helps to calm human beings' central nervous system. So going to a quiet space in your home, whether it be a prayer you say over and over again, whether it be your breath that you're breathing over and over again, whether it be counting 1 to 10 over and over again. It starts to elicit relaxation. It calms the central nervous system. It diminishes your respiratory rate. It diminishes your heart rate. And once you get into that state, you start feeling so much better. So if you're practicing that on a daily basis, or as much as possible in your quiet, safe place, when you're out in the world, or when you realize that you've gotten infected again, or whatever it might be, you can recall that. You can bring it into that moment, and it might be a word that you devise, peace, or love, or Jesus, if that's your higher power, whatever the word is, and just start saying it over and over again. And your brain will remember that you have started to train it, to quiet it. And this is physiological. This will change your physiology. It will help calm you down. It will protect you from the really toxic. I mean, the toxicity of this illness is not the parasites, or it's not the Morgellons even. It's what we do with it in our brain and how we create hormones in our body that age us. You know, we want to avoid that, and this technique works. And you know, it's been used for many different illnesses. As I said, I worked with physicians, best physicians in the world at Harvard, and they worked with cardiac patients, and they used the relaxation response. They used it with cancer patients. They used it with infertility patients. They used it with medical symptom reduction programs. I ran a repetitive strain injury program. Anything that has to do with inflammation in the body or illness, this can help. So I want to offer that to you. And if you need any coaching with that, I'd be happy to help you with it. And you can contact Richard or Robin, and I will call you if that's the case. Yeah.
Great. So, how can you give us a little direction on this? We're going to sit in a quiet place, and we're going to either count or breathe.
Why don't we do it right now?
Yes.
So just take everything off your lap and sit. If you are able to sit in a place that you feel comfortable and safe, go ahead and do that. And again, you can use whatever you can use a prayer. You can use a word. You can use in some beautiful religions, they call it a mantra. It's a word, a holy word that you say over and over again. Or you can just simply focus on your breath. So let's all practice breath awareness right now. And just make sure your feet are flat on the floor and you're sitting comfortably. And just allow your hands to rest in your lap with your palms open. And just take a deep breath in and just sigh that breath out. And imagine you're just releasing any tension with that out breath. And now let's just all use our breath for this next exercise. We'll just focus on the in-breath, the space between the breath and the out-breath. And then the in-breath, the space between the breath, and slow out-breath. Breathing in, resting in that space, and then out-breath. And breathing in, resting in that space, and then out-breath. Just going with your own rhythm now. If your mind wanders, Just simply and gently bring it back to the in-breath, the space between the breath and the out-breath. And you might find your forehead, your eyes, your cheeks, your jaw, your tongue and throat start to relax. The in-breath, space between, and the out-breath. In-breath, space between, and the out-breath. And now maybe just wiggling your toes or your fingertips and bringing yourself back, deepening your breath. And maybe just bringing your arms overhead and really stretching out through your arms, bringing yourself back. Just kind of noticing how you're feeling. That was less than 5 minutes of practice. And just noticing how you're feeling. Noticing the temperature of your hands and your feet. Perhaps your breath is a little longer than it was when we started. So when you're practicing eliciting the relaxation response, your thoughts are going to come in. I find it's the structure of going to the same place every day. Make sure it's a safe place. Make it your mission. Your second mission in life, other than the diet, is to create a clean, safe place for you to sit every day. You don't have to worry about anything as far as this illness goes. You can feel safe and quiet. And make an intention. This is a spiritual practice. The space between the breath, I believe, is where God resides. I believe we have a intuitive connection to a higher self that will guide us to our highest state. So this is an opportunity to relax, to connect with that higher state, and also to change our physiology. And the more we practice daily, the better we are to intervene during the day, our walking around practice. So our walking around practice is to notice our thoughts. Are they thoughts that support our well-being? Are they negative or fearful or resentful thoughts? Just noticing them, not to add to it by putting yourself down or to diminish yourself because you're having these thoughts. The human response to suffering is to have negative thoughts. It's a natural response, but it does not need to be what we do. We can learn spirituality is intervening in those thoughts, those natural ways we are. You know, we're monkeys with big brains. So we have these animalistic responses to fear. But the wonderful thing is our brain's a little bit bigger. And we have a little more awareness, maybe. I don't know, maybe apes have better awareness to God. But we have techniques that we can bring into our life that can help us with stress. And the first place to notice is the thinking. And I talked about having a spiritual practice the first week, and this is part of my spiritual practice. And I would encourage you to explore it. And it's not something to beat yourself up for if you don't do it. That's not what it's about. I mean, even if you can sit for 3 minutes in the chair in the morning and practice this, and then maybe in a week or two go up to maybe 4 minutes. And even if your mind is like a ping pong ball the first day, just keep showing up for your practice. And eventually your body and your mind, your brain, your central nervous system will calm down. And you'll be like a little kid in a pin, in one of those playpens. And you're not going to let yourself get up. No matter what, you're just going to bring that little child back. So that's how I, talk about the mind. It's like a little toddler that was walking away when you're meditating. You just take that little child. You'd never be rocking, say anything disparaging to that child. You gently guide that little child. No, come on back. Here you go. And that's how you want to be with yourself. That's how we want to be with ourselves. We are suffering enough. We do not need to disparage ourselves, to put ourselves down, to say anything negative about ourselves. We need to build ourselves up and encourage ourselves and encourage each other. And we will get better. So the first quality of resiliency is developing a spiritual practice, having that little bit of quiet time, even if it starts with a minute or two in the morning, and then you can build it up. And you can work with your buddy with this, and you can do it collaboratively and do it together, not exactly at the same time, but check in with each other about how you did with it. So that's eliciting the relaxation response, and also knowing that you can bring it into your day. You don't leave it back behind you. You bring that calm and peace with you. With every breath and every space between your breath, you're reminded that you're never alone. You are never alone. You never have to walk through this alone. There's always a higher self with you, guiding you and loving you and being with you. And hopefully the fellowship here of people will reflect that. So thank you for inviting me to share this.
Thank you so much, Margie, for contributing. It's wonderful. Kind words, encouraging words. Those are very important for all of us. It's important for us to learn how to nurture ourselves. It's typical that we come to conclusions. I mean, if you go on Facebook, you can see people saying, oh, that diet doesn't work. And it's so easy to get into that same frame of mind because you may have trouble. Like oftentimes Robin shares, it took several months for her to get the diet to kick in. So it's not about whether the diet will work. It's about whether you're going to make it work and what you can figure out how to make it work. Be creative. And instead of getting into, oh, this doesn't work or that doesn't work, that's just an opinion your intelligence has. So just treat yourself kind, like a gentle child, and say, thank you, my intelligence, thank you. It's acknowledging it. It's not putting it down. It's not making yourself wrong. Thank you for your, I acknowledge I'm in despair right now. I don't like this feeling. And then tell your brain where you want to go. I'd like to be optimistic. I'd like to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'd like to figure out how to make this diet work. I'd like to figure out how to get this room disinfected. Direct your brain, and your brain is a computer. It will comply. It will comply. Thank you, Margie. Okay, anyone like to share or contribute? Can text Robin, I don't see her well, or call into Chris or text Chris. Otherwise, we'll be closing this segment of meeting. It's wonderful being here with each and every one of you. Keep coming back. We want this to be the community of healing, the community of health, to get your life back. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Margie. Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Ethel. Love you all.